Good evening, everyone. It's 5 p.m. on the 28th of July 2026. I'm Councillor Chris Gibbs, the Shire President, and I declare this ordinary council meeting open at 5 p.m. The York Shire Council acknowledges the Ballardong people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional owners of the country where this meeting is being held, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water, sky and culture. We pay our respects to all these people and their elders, past, present and emerging. In accordance with Regulations 14I and 14J of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, notice is given that this meeting is being video and audio recorded to facilitate community participation and for minute-taking purposes. By being present at a meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their image and voice may be recorded. Audio recordings are published on the Shire's website following the meeting and may be released upon request to third parties. Members of the public are reminded that in accordance with Section 6.16 of the Shire of York Local Government Council Meetings Local Law 2016, nobody shall use any visual or vocal recording device or instrument to record the proceedings of council without the written permission of the presiding member. I wish to draw attention to the disclaimer notice contained within the agenda document and advise members of the public that any decisions made at the meeting today can be revoked in accordance with Regulation 10 of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996. Therefore, members of the public should not rely on any decisions until formal notification in writing from the Shire has been received. Any plans or documents in agendas and minutes may be subject to copyright, and the express permission of the copyright owner must be obtained before copying any copyright material. There's no change to standing orders this evening, and we have no visitors this evening. Councillors or administration, I should say, are there any declarations of proximity interest this evening on any items? There are none. Are there any declarations of financial interest this evening, Councillor and Admin? There are none. Are there any disclosures of impartiality? Thanks, Councillor Trent, and I'll get you to raise your hand when the item comes up, please. No others? Thanks very much. Let's move along. Attendance tonight, there's Councillor Chris Gibbs, the Shire President. Councillor Denise Smythe is the Deputy Shire President. Councillor Elaine Ashford is here. Councillor Monique Hutchinson is here. And Councillor Kevin Trent is here. For staff, I have Alina Behan, the Chief Executive Officer. Annika Burleson is Acting Executive Manager, Corporate and Community Service. Thomas Bruins is here. He's the Executive Manager, Infrastructure and Development Service. Rebecca Atkinson is Manager, Tourism and Economic Development. Gail Darcy is Council Support Officer. And Emma Hannington is the Administration Officer. We have apologies tonight from Councillor Kevin Pike and Councillor Melissa Welsh. There are no leaves of absence previously approved, and the number of people in the gallery at the commencement of the meeting is 1. Thanks for coming, Diane. Questions from previous meetings. There are no response to previous questions, public questions taken on notice, and there are no responses to unasked questions from the previous meeting. So that brings us to public question time. Public question time is conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995 and regulations. In addition to this, the Shire's Local Government Council Meetings Local Law 2016 states the procedures for question time for the public. A member of the public who wishes to ask a question during question time must identify themselves and register with a council officer immediately prior to the meeting. A question may be taken on notice by council for later response. When a question is taken on notice, the CEO is to ensure that a response is given to the member of the public in writing, and a summary of the response is included in the agenda of the next meeting of council. Where a question relating to a matter in which a relevant person has an interest is directed to the relevant person is to declare that he or she has an interest in the matter and allow another person to respond to the question. Each member of the public with a question is entitled to ask up to 2 questions before other members of the public will be invited to ask their questions. Where a member of the public provides written questions, then the presiding member may elect for the questions to be responded to as normal business correspondence. The presiding member may decide that a public question shall not be responded to where the same or similar question was asked at a previous meeting, a response was provided, and the member of the public is directed to the minutes of the meeting at which the response was provided. The member of the public uses public question time to make a statement, provided that the presiding member has taken all reasonable steps to assist the member of the public to phrase the statement as a question, or the member of the public asks a question that is offensive or defamatory in nature, provided that the presiding member has taken all reasonable steps to assist the member of the public to phrase the question in a manner that is not offensive or defamatory. A member of the public shall have 2 minutes to submit a question. The council, by resolution, may agree to extend public question time. Where any questions remain unasked at the end of public question time, they may be submitted to the CEO, who will reply in writing and include the questions and answers in the agenda for the next ordinary council meeting. Where an answer to a question is given in a meeting, a summary of the question and the answer is to be included in the minutes. And with that, I will open public question time at 5:06 p.m. So, first up is written questions on the current agenda, and we have written questions from Diane Buckley, who's here tonight. I'm just confirming with you, Diane, that I spoke with you before and you're happy for me to read your questions and answers?
That's correct.
Because you do have the option of rereading your questions, but I'll read them for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Diane Buckley has question 1. Library tub chairs. Was it necessary to spend $3,289 on 6 chairs? Did existing chairs need to be replaced? Were existing chairs sold to recover costs? How often is this expense required? Okay, and the response is the existing chairs were purchased for the opening of the administration building in 1997. Many are now reaching end of life but have not yet been disposed of. Comparison quotes were sought over several years with the focus on safety, weight bearing and flared armrests to assist older residents to return to standing. Question 2. Environmental Health Officer. Please provide the total cost we have spent on consultant Philip Swain since George left in January 2025. I raised this cost early in 2025. I would like our CEO to provide the figure and also an update on how we're going to get a permanent EH officer. There's a response here. The Shire has paid $84,780 for the environmental health services of Philip Swain since January 2025. Phil's services have been required again from April 2026 as the Shire's permanent EHO is on parental leave and advertising for a fixed-term staff member to cover the leave period was unsuccessful. Question 3, Illuminat Stories in Light. What is this for? Is it a permanent fixture as it is a big expenditure? Illuminat is the creative consultant who've been contracted through competitive process to design the permanent lighting display as part of the Waggle Rises project. This is the initial payment for the contract. A grant of $238,002 ex-GST was approved from Lottery West towards funding this project. Question 4, engineering design work. Do we have to outsource this as we don't have the staff to do our own designs? Can you advise what these designs in financials by Talus Consultants were for? Engineering design is a very specific engineering skill set that is difficult for a small regional shire to have available internally. Accordingly, the Shire utilises consultancy contracts to undertake this work. These payments are for 2 different projects, being the Quellington Road reconstruction and the light industrial area upgrades. Using technical support ensures we are designing to meet the relevant standards and the work creates a long-term outcome for the community. Question 5, pet-friendly toilets. Our Shire is short on funds, so would like to know if a more cost-effective alternative could have been utilised. $7,409.60 for 2 pet-friendly toilets seems excessive. The drink stations are for 2 separate drinking fountains that service both people and pets. As with all procurement, we seek to provide the best outcome in a cost-effective manner to deliver long-term outcomes for the community. The cost is consistent with the market and was budgeted for in the 2025-26 budget. That's the end of the written questions. So I can now ask if there are questions from the floor on the current agenda. There are none. So we will move to if anyone has questions that are not on the current agenda. Would you like to come and ask your question, darling?
Sorry, I'm a bit stiff.
That's okay. And just state your name, please.
Yep. Darlene Barrett.
Thank you.
For several months now, I have been asking for the streets to be cleaned up, mainly the pavers. I was sent a letter saying that the pavers were cleaned 6 months prior to, I think it was May, and I don't believe that to be correct. But so I've sat quietly for the past 3 months because it was going to get done at the end of May, 31st, and it still hasn't been done. I just would like to know when it's eventually going to get done.
Thank you for your question, and for that one I will hand over to the CEO.
Thank you through the chair. I'll pass to our EMIDS for an update, or if you don't have the information today, we'll have to take that on notice for an update.
Okay then, thanks.
Thank you very much, Darlene. Are there any further questions from the gallery? Okay, well, thank you very much. In that case, I will close question time at 5:11 p.m. Thank you very much for your interest and enthusiasm. Applications for leave of absence, there are none. We have no presentations this evening, which include petitions, presentations and deputations. We have some delegates' reports. There's something on the screen right now, which is Deputy President Smyth's movements throughout June 2026. And we'll move to the confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. There's a recommendation there. May I have a mover, please? Oh, sorry, are there any questions on this item first? There are none.
Move, Councillor Trent.
Actually, I think Councillor Smyth had her hand up first. Councillor Trent.
Moved, Councillor Smyth.
Thank you. And Councillor Trent.
Seconded.
Thank you. Is anyone against the recommendation? Let's take a vote, please. And that's moved 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, and we also have... Is this the same item here? Sorry, just... Okay. So there's also a recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting held on 3rd of June be confirmed as a correct record of proceedings. Are there any questions? There are none. Councillor Trent, you've got your hand up to move.
Moved, Councillor
May
Trent.
I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Trent. Councillor Smyth.
Councillor Smyth seconds.
Okay, is anyone against the recommendation? There is no one. Let's take a vote, please. And that is carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. Next up is announcements by the presiding member without discussion, and that's a list of things that I attended throughout June 2026. We'll have a quick look at that once this little bit of admin is taken care of. That's my list of things that I attended throughout June. Let's move forward, please. That brings us to the officers' reports. So let's get into it. SY062-07/26 is the multi-year funding acquittal for 2025-26 from Hardwired Entertainment Proprietary Limited. There's a recommendation that we can have a quick look at. That's the recommendation, Council. Are there any points of clarification or questions on this item? There are none. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Smythe.
Councillor Smythe seconds.
Is anyone against the recommendation, Council? Let's take a vote, please. And that's carried 5-0. Thank you. And just a reminder to the gallery that Council has the opportunity for points of clarification and question asking any time after the agenda comes out. So a lot of the times our questions have already been dealt with by the time we get to the OCM. And there's going to be a way of bringing a record of that to future minutes of council meetings. It's just not quite ready yet. Okay. Let's move to the next item. SY063-07/26, multi-year funding acquittal 2025-26, Wheatbelt Arts and Events Incorporated. Let's have a look at the recommendation. Council, are there any points of clarification or questions? May I have a mover, please? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Ashford. Can you just say that on the mic, please? Thank you.
Councillor Ashford seconds.
Thank you very much. Is anyone against the item? Okay, no one speaking against. Let's take a vote, please. And that is carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. Okay, moving right along. Yes. Now, I'll read the item first, and then I believe Councillor Trent has the interest in this. SY064-07/26, request for tourism funding for York Motoring and Events. Over to you, Councillor Trent.
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. With regards to the item, request for tourist funding for the York Motoring Events Incorporated, in the matter of SY 064 of 0726. Make that 6 readable. I disclose that I have an association with the applicant, and that association is that I'm a member of the York Motoring Events Incorporated. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly. Signed by myself today.
Thank you very much, Councillor Trent, and Councillor Trent has handed in his paperwork on that. Let's have a look at the recommendation itself. There it is, Council. Are there any questions or points of clarification? Yes, Councillor Ashford.
I did raise a question, and it was answered in writing, but it wasn't clarified, so I just seek a bit more clarification. So the application requests shy funding of $12,000. However, the budget estimate provided appears to total only $10,100. That's $5,000 in traffic management, $1.5 in insurance, and $300 for advertising, and $600 printing stationery. Given the expenditure outlined in the application, would a funding request of around $10,000 be more accurate, accurately reflect the cost identified by the applicant? So that was responded, but in the actual application itself, where it outlines specifically what will the Shire of York funding be used for, it specifically says just those items, and they total $10,100, not the total estimate expenditure which was responded.
Okay, so you'd like clarification on the amount being sought and potentially being approved. Thank you for your question, Councillor Ashford, and I will hand that across to the CEO for a response or further clarification.
Yeah. Thank you through the chair. I'll pass that on to our acting EMCCS for that clarification.
Thank you through the chair. Just give me a moment to find the application in the minutes.
Just while we're doing that, for the benefit of the gallery, you'll notice that our large flags aren't back yet, but we do have a new base built for those flags, and as soon as it's ready, the flags will be back in here behind me. The earlier base eventually failed, and the York Men's Shed has kindly built us a brand new base for the flags. So we'll be back soon.
So just looking at the application again and the budget that they've allocated, it looks like when they've referred to advertising and promotion, there is one line in the budget for advertising of $3,000, but advertising and promotion would come through other sources like the website and signage and so forth, so it would add up.
Councillor Ashford, any follow-up there? Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions on this item? All right, in that case, let's ask for a mover, please. Councillor Smythe.
Councillor Smythe moves.
And may I have a seconder?
Councillor Trent seconds.
Councillor Trent seconds. Is anyone speaking against the item? Okay, let's take a vote, please. And that's carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. And we'll move to our next item. SY065-07/26 is a request for tourism funding from Wildflower Society of WA York Branch. Let's have a look at the recommendation. And there it is on the screen. Council, are there points of clarification or questions on this item? Councillor Ashford.
Sorry. Again, just a clarification. So the applicant seeks $4,800, of which approximately $4,000 or $50 per person is allocated for catering for an estimated 80 attendees, 60 visitors and 20 volunteers, with additional costs including travel for 2 speakers at $200, speaker gifts $300 and promotional material $300. So the question was, what financial contribution is being made by the organisation body toward event costs, and has the organisation applied for or secured funding from any external sources? If not, why has external funding not been sought prior to requesting Shire support?
Thank you for your question, and I will hand that across to the CEO.
And thank you through the chair. I'll pass that on to our acting EMCCS, who has prepared a response.
Thank you through the chair. So the launch event is part of a much wider project, publishing the book Wildflowers of York. And the York branch are covering the costs of publishing, printing, marketing, distribution of the book at a cost of $12,500, and are making an additional contribution to the event of $670. Members and volunteers are organising, promoting and coordinating the event with an in-kind contribution estimated above $2,500. In addition to the launch event, provision of this funding will secure the Shire as an exclusive distributor, and the Shire of York logo will be printed on all publications of the book.
Councillor Ashford?
Is the intent to actually sell the book and make a profit? So they're contributing the $12,500, but they will sell the book and make a profit from that, or recover that money?
Thanks for your question, Councillor. I will hand that to the CEO.
And thank you through the chair. I'll pass that on to acting EMCCS as well.
Thank you through the chair. I'm going to pass this over to Manager of Tourism and Economic Development.
Thank you from the chair. So the level of money returned will not compensate the outlay, and it is a unique opportunity as the book has been created by an author who has also donated their knowledge and time, and it will be the first book of its kind and the only book of its kind in this area.
Councillor? Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions, Council? Okay, may I have a mover for this item, please? Councillor Smythe.
Councillor Smythe moves.
And may I have a seconder? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent seconds.
Thank you very much. Is anyone against the item? Let's take a vote, please. And that's carried 5-0. Thank you very much. Item SY066-07/26 is a request for tourism funding for All Ford Day Incorporated. Let's have a look at the recommendation. Councillors, are there points of clarification or questions on this? There are none. Therefore, do I have a mover for this? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Smythe.
Councillor Smythe seconds.
Is anyone speaking against the item? Let's take a vote, please. And that's carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. Item SY067-07/26 is the Wheatbelt Rail Trails Report. Let's have a look at the recommendation. There's a recommendation there. Council, are there any points of clarification or questions on this item? There are none. Therefore, may I have a mover, please? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
Councillor Trent moves. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Councillor Ashford.
Councillor Ashford seconds.
Is anyone speaking against the recommendation? That's a no. Let's take a vote, please. And that is carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. Item SY068-07/26 is minutes of the Access and Inclusion Advisory Group meetings held July 25 to June 2026. Let's have a look at the recommendation. There's the recommendation. Council, are there points of clarification or questions on this one? There are none. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hutchinson.
Councillor Hutchinson seconds.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Is anyone speaking against the item? As there is no one, let's take a vote, please. And that's carried 5-0. Thank you very much, Council. Moving right along. Okay, so item SY069-07/26 is for delegates to the 2026 WA Local Government Association Convention, and there's a recommendation on this. There's the recommendation. Councillors, are there any points of clarification or questions? Okay, may I have a mover, please? Councillor Ashford.
Councillor Ashford moves.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent seconds.
Is anyone against the recommendation or speaking against? As there is no one, let's take a vote, please. And that is carried 5-0. Thank you very much. And we will move to the next item. Probably worth mentioning to the gallery here that we received some advice a couple of OCMs ago that the next three things should appear as separate items. They used to appear as one big item. And I believe it came from ARIC, our Audit and Risk.
No, I believe it's
No, sorry.
from WALGA.
It's from WALGA.
Oh, sorry. Oh, from More Australia, pardon
Okay.
me. That's, as part of budget workshop.
Thank you. So as part of ongoing workshops, it was decided that these should be presented as separate items, which is why this little part of the meeting's a little bit longer and bigger than it used to be. Okay. Item SY070-07/26 is investments for June 2026. Let's have a look at the recommendation. There's the recommendation. Points of clarification or questions from council? There are none. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Smythe.
Councillor Smythe moves.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent seconds.
Is anyone speaking against the recommendation? Let's take a vote. And that is carried 5-0. Thank you. Item SY071-07/26 is the list of accounts paid using transaction cards for the period 1st to 30th of June 2026. Let's have a look at the recommendation, which is there. Are there any points of clarification or questions from council? Yes, Councillor Ashford.
I did ask the question. It was answered, but just for the record, my question was, why are Shire-owned vehicles being refuelled outside of the Shire when local fuel providers are available, and are staff directed or encouraged to purchase fuel locally wherever practical? I think there were 20 plus transactions, and only one was actually within our Shire.
Thanks very much for the question, and I'll hand over to the CEO for a response.
Thank you, and I will provide a response to that. So the vehicles listed are ones that have both private and commute use. They're usually used to go outside of York for a range of duties, which is attending meetings, etc. So people refuel where they are. But however, we do expect staff to spend locally wherever possible, and we report on that in our council, our financials every month, where we can to say what we've been able to do in that space. We also have Section 14 of Council Policy F2 Procurement, which outlines and specifies the Shire's commitment requirements in relation to local spend. And we do have price preferences. So if it's within York, it's a 10% price preference, and within our region, it's a 5%. So we encourage and support the spending locally where possible.
Any further questions? Okay, there are no further questions. So may I have a mover? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
May I have a
Recommendation.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ashford seconds. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Ashford, second.
Thank you, Councillor. Is anyone speaking against the recommendation? Okay, let's take a vote. And that's carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. Item SY072-07/26 is the list of payments made from the municipal and trust funds for the period 1st to 30th of June 2026. Let's have a look at the recommendation for this item. And there it is. There's the recommendation. I think we might just zoom this one out a little. We got some feedback from the community that sometimes you couldn't see the entire recommendation on the screen. So we're trying to remedy that where we can. Unfortunately, it just means it also gets a little bit smaller. But there's the recommendation. So council, are there any points of clarification or questions? There are none. Can I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Trent.
Councillor Trent moves.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Smythe.
Councillor Smythe seconds.
Thank you very much. Is anyone speaking against the recommendation? As there is no one, let's take a vote, please, Council. And that is carried 5-0. Thank you, Council. And we'll zoom back to normal when we can. And we'll move to the next item. Okay. Business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of the meeting. There's a motion here. There's a late item, an officer recommendation that council agrees to accept and consider the late report, which is SY07307/26. So first of all, we need to decide whether to accept the report. Do I have a mover for that?
Moved, Councillor Trent.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Smythe.
Seconded, Councillor Smythe.
Is anyone against accepting the late item? Let's take a vote on accepting the item then. We will accept it into the OCM with a vote of 5-0. And while we're doing that bit, I can read out the next part. Item SY073-07/26. It's a review of the Register of Delegated Authority. And let's have a look at the recommendation for this late item. Just so the gallery knows how that works as well, council will all receive an email saying that there's a late item and saying where it is and saying that it's something that's going to be added, and then we get to have a look at that and then decide at the meeting whether we're going to accept the late item. So if something could make it onto the OCM but didn't quite make it for the first release of the agenda briefing. Okay, there's the recommendation. Sorry, have we missed something? Just hold on for a second, everyone.
You didn't do motions of previous notice being given or questions from members without notice. You jumped to 12.
Okay. What I will do is no, thank you. Deputy President Smythe has pointed out that there's something. I think I can circle back. Okay, so we're in the middle of this one. So are there any questions or clarifications on this one? Okay, do I have a mover for this? Councillor Trent?
Councillor Trent moves.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ashford?
Councillor Ashford seconds.
Thank you very much. Is anyone against the item? If there's no one, let's take a vote. That's carried 5-0. And apologies to the gallery there. There were two things. Because this is a late item, I accidentally skipped two things that are not items. So we're going to go back and just have a quick look. There they are. So, number 10 was motions of which previous notice has been given, and there are none. But we can do questions from members of council without notice. And Councillor Trent, you have a question.
Yes, Mr. President. Will council be mounting a culling campaign to remove the pigeons from York? I noticed that there's been an increase in those birds, and each year we have to put money in the budget for eradication programs. So I'm just wondering whether we do have money coming up next year.
Thanks for your question, Councillor, and I will hand that across to the CEO for a response regarding pigeons.
Thank you, through the Chair. Yes, we put money into the budget every year to eradicate pests. Obviously, the budget has not yet been adopted, but an allowance has been made already in the upcoming budget. And we have recently conducted some activities, I think last month. Yep. So we're continue to be vigilant in that space.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council? There are none. That satisfies that requirement. And apologies to gallery for getting that little bit out of order there. Let's go back to where we were. There are no matters for the meeting to be closed to the public. So there's therefore no reason to do a public reading of resolutions to be made public. Therefore, Actually, just before I do, thank you very much to Gail Darcy, her first OCM today as Council Support Officer, and ably trained by Emma there, and both doing very, very well. So thank you to both of you. Thanks to everyone from the Shire for attending, and thank you, Council. And we will see you all again next month. Thanks a lot to the gallery for attending, especially when it starts to get to the colder months. So I really appreciate that. And we will see you all next time. I'm going to close this meeting now at 5:40 p.m. Thanks a lot and have a great evening.